Fuji Pro 400H, a film stock that has a cult-like following around the film community, but unfortunately is no longer in production. You might know this film stock because of its portrait-like colors and dynamic range. A lot of the wedding photographers used to love this film stock because of what it could do and the colors it can generate when overexposed. For me personally, this is the first time I've shot it. Didn't know what to expect besides what I've been told and what I've researched. However, I wanted to do something a little different, so I shot it at night. I was so eager to shoot this roll of Pro 400H that I grabbed my Yashica Mat 124G and loaded it up and headed over to the North Shore of Pittsburgh. Alrighty, we're out here at Cafe Modern. Got the Yashica Mat lined up here. I don't have a shutter release cable right now, and my self-timer is jammed, so I'm only gonna take probably like a couple shots tonight, and then probably pop back out tomorrow. But I'm just eager to do this. I'm eager to come out here and shoot. I'm gonna try to just stabilize the camera on a tripod and hand shoot without a timer or a shutter cable release. But right here we got this beautiful scene of this old bar, Cafe Modern. I'm gonna shoot it with a green light contrasted against this red, so honestly I'm just gonna go for it right now. We're shooting at f3.5 at 1 second of a second, or 1 second of a second, whatever makes sense. But here we go. Alrighty, there we go. So I'm hoping that will actually turn out. We shall see. A little bit closer and get like a angle shot upwards of this sign here, just to see like what we can get. Man, I need to get a better tripod. This thing is kind of caca, I ain't gonna lie. Okay, well this is my chance. We're gonna bump this up to 1/5. Actually, I'm gonna shoot it at 1/4 just to be sure. And here we go. 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. All right. I'm feeling pretty confident about those. Those should be all right. I held it pretty still, but you know, I'm self-destructing right now, so. Alrighty, so that's it for this spot tonight. What I'm gonna try to do, like I said, come back when I have a shutter release cable and can actually comfortably shoot the scenes I want to shoot, because they're definitely dark and I want to get a lot longer exposure than just 1/5 of a second. So I'll see y'all tomorrow. I know I said I was going to come back tomorrow night, finish out this roll, but I saw this scene here and honestly I couldn't pass it up. And it's saying, let me double check, it said 1/15 of a second at f3.5. I know that's wide open, not ideally what I want to be shooting, but that's for tomorrow. So we're gonna try to line this up and get the shot. It's quite an interesting scene here, so figured why pass it up. I'm actually gonna lower this a little bit here try to get it from a lower angle, just to see if we can get something cool. Back it up too. Alright, let's see here. Alright, so let's see. Let's get this in focus here. Alright. So 1/15 f3.5. 3, 2, 1. Alright, I think I held that honestly pretty still, so should be good. Alrighty. See y'all tomorrow. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've lied to you once again. We're back. I was fidgeting with the Yashica mat a little bit and got the self-timer to work. So on the way back from the locations we shot earlier, I came across this scene here that I found it to be quite interesting. It's like a water treatment plant, but it's got all the mechanics and I don't even know, all the pipes and everything exposed on the interior here. I'm gonna try to shoot this. That's a nice scene. Let's get the meter reading here. We're shooting at 1 second at f3.5. I'm gonna cock the self timer here. I'm gonna double check. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we're good. You know, half the time I can't even tell if the camera actually takes the picture. I am blown away by how quiet this shutter is on the Yashica mat. It's like half the time I don't even hear it. And I'm like, okay, did it take the shot? I don't know. So this one's looking pretty interesting. I feel like I can get a couple of pretty interesting angles here. I'm thinking I might try to get, I'm just gonna get this scene completely bare right here with the, let me get it set up here, with the cones in the foreground, giving it a little bit of some leading lines. So that should be good. Let's see what the reading is here. It's in focus, composition is set. We're gonna set the timer, and then we're gonna start it here in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty, we are good. Alright, the rain's starting to come down a lot more than I thought it would right now. It's starting to slow up again, but you know, you obviously don't want to be out shooting a Yashica mat in the middle of the rain. That's not the best environment for it, but you know, I am seeing a really interesting frame here. I pulled off into an alleyway to get out of the rain, but look at this. This is quite an interesting scene here that I think would look quite good on the Yashica mat, especially with all these warm lights, considering that it typically with Fuji Pro 400H, it typically renders tungsten light a little bit colder. So I'm hoping I'm gonna bust it out again and shoot this scene and hopefully get a pretty cold or neutral scene.
I'm thinking it'll be pretty neutral. So let's go ahead and bust that out and we'll see what we get. We got it. We got the Yashica. Let's go. Let's go, let's go, let's go. All right, for this one, we're going to be quick because the rain's starting to pick up. And I think this is going to be the last shot of the night. I'm going to pull up the meter real quick and see what we got. Let's get this framed up here. There we go. That's perfect. Set the focus. All right. Alrighty, we might be going for a record here. The fastest setup I've ever done on the Yashica so far. So here we are. Okay. So it's reading at f3.5 to shoot at 1 second of a second. What I'm gonna do is shoot at just 1 second and see how it goes. So here we go. Let's set the timer. And then 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. That's a nice shot. I like that, and it's gonna be nice with the rain. I don't know if you can see on the ground out here. It's all lit up now because it's all wet from these lights. And I think that's just gonna add like a really nice effect on the lower half of that photo. And then I had this wall on the right-hand side and this post on the left-hand side framing this highway here. I think it's gonna be nice. And whoop-de-doo to me, I think that was the fastest I've ever set up and shot a scene on the Yashica, so pretty nice. But I think that's gonna be the last shot for the evening because I'm definitely seeing the limitations of not having a shutter release cable at night, and I'm pretty sure I could take better photos than probably what I just took, at least exposure wise, but I don't know what it looks like. Y'all would have seen these photos before I do, so I'm excited. I have like locations planned to check out tomorrow, but I don't have any definite like scenes picked out. Kind of just gonna wander around and figure it out, so I'm excited to bring y'all along with me, so let's get after it. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Good night. Hello, we are back. Day 2, and we're actually going to come back to the same spot we started off yesterday, this modern cafe right here, because now I actually have a shutter release cable and I can finally take some nice long exposures on the Yashica mat. So we're going to set up here and see what we can get. Alrighty, so I think I got my first composition here of this sign. It's gonna be kind of the corner of the building here with the sign falling off to the side of the image, not centered. And I'm gonna try to do a little bit of a longer exposure to get some detail in the background. Looks like some really nice trees here, and it looks like we're also getting a lot of light in the sky from the city, so we might get a really cool toned image here, which I by no means would ever be upset about. So I believe this is going to be our shot here. All right, we're going to go ahead and get the meter here for the image. So I'm keeping the aperture at f8 for this shot. And I'm going to try to overexpose. It says to shoot at 2.7 seconds. I'm going to shoot it at just around 3.5. So how I do that is I go to my timer app, and I just go to a timer or a stopwatch, I mean. No, what is it? Timer. And I just do 3 seconds here and make sure that the camera is set to bulb, so that way this actually triggers, the shutter, and it stays open for the allotted time that you have this pressed down at. So start at 3 seconds here, and again we're shooting at 3 seconds at f8. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Well, that was chaotic. I didn't expect the timer to go blaring off like that. I'm not gonna lie. I 100% locked the shutter release cable because I pressed it down too hard. So that turned into more of an 8-second exposure, which the good thing about color negative film though is it's really good at holding on to, detail in an image even when overexposed, especially at night, because the longer that the shutter is open and the longer that the film is being exposed to light, the less light sensitive it is. So it's kind of strange, but it makes sense, I guess. So we're actually going to go ahead and shoot this one more time so I can get it right, because I really want to, I really would like to get this shot perfect because I'm really confident about this exposure. So we're going to do this again. Not going to use the timer this time. I'm just going to, count. So we're going to start this in 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. And there we go. So that should be a more accurate exposure there. You will have seen the photo before I do, so I hope it's good. Alrighty, so here we are at the Garden Theater. This is on the north shore of downtown Pittsburgh. It's pretty dark in this area, so I'm hoping to, push the shutter a little bit more on this one. Hoping that I don't get any light trails from cars, but we're just gonna get what we get out here. So I'm gonna try to find a good composition for this. I think I'm gonna have to get up pretty close here. Alrighty. Let's get a little closer here. We're gonna come right off to this side here so the sign isn't covered at all. Put this back in here. And let's see. Alright. Back up a little bit. Alrighty. So I think we've got our composition here. So I'm gonna pull out the light meter. We're gonna check this scene. I might honestly shoot this at f11 just to get a longer exposure. So yeah, we'll shoot at f11. And honestly, it's I'm gonna get hit out here. These people don't care. I'm probably gonna shoot it at 3 seconds again because it's showing 2.7 again on the meter. So we'll be quick here. We're gonna take this shot in 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And there we go. It's as easy as that. Beautiful scene, this location at night. Garden Theater. That is one thing I have to say. There are so many beautiful places in the world, that is for sure, but Pittsburgh just is such a unique looking place. It's just, there's so much history here. It's so old Americana, and I love it. But let's get on to the next spot. I think that just put us on, yep, we're on the 10th frame. So the next spot is going to be also on the North Shore, shooting back towards the city. So I'll catch you when we get there. So I was on my way to the spot that I want to shoot, and I came across this scene, and I couldn't help but stop to shoot it because if any of y'all are familiar with Pittsburgh, you know that these staircases are just like a staple to the city. So I'm gonna get a nice shot of them. My little ode to Pittsburgh for the night, for the video. All right, and I'm going to try to grab the house and focus there. There we go. All right, and so here we go. Here's where we're gonna be able to push the limits here because we are gonna be shooting at f8. So it's saying 4 seconds. So in reality, I should be shooting about 6 seconds, but I'm gonna shoot it at 8 seconds for this shot. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull this. Everything looks good. Everything's in frame. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially taken a picture of the Pittsburgh staircase. One of the million that are out here. Well, that was awesome. That was cool. I loved that scene right there. So we're gonna go ahead and head over to the original spot. So I will catch you all there. So here we are at another location that I've been wanting to shoot on medium format. And this right here is the old Heinz factory. So if you're familiar with Heinz ketchup, this is where the headquarters used to be. Now it's high-end loft apartments, such is the world these days. So I want to try to format this to where I'm going to be getting the Heinz building with the towering UPMC in the background. So let's see what we can do here. Probably gonna shoot this one at f11 just to get, you know, those longer exposures. And I believe that is our shot, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So we've got it. We've got the composition set. So let's pull ourselves a little exposure meter here. Let me change this to f11 real quick. There we are, f11. Alrighty, so this is saying that I need to be shooting at about 10 seconds. So if I'm shooting at 10 seconds, I, in reality, should be hitting around 20 to 22 seconds. And considering this is 10.6 seconds, I'm gonna go for 22. So I believe we're ready to do this, ladies and gentlemen. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1, we're gonna count up to 22 for this exposure. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Alrighty. Not bad. Not bad. I'm excited to see this one. This is a shot I've been wanting to get for a while because just this Heinz building is so, you know, historical to the city of Pittsburgh. And I just love the look of it. It's so old school and it's so just stunning to look at, especially with the city in the background. Just doesn't get better than that, baby. Let's go. Well, I'm gonna pull off. So I'm on shot. Oh, it says I'm on shot 12. So I have one more shot that I want to get on the Fuji Pro 400H just to, you know, see its capabilities of long exposure with motion. And there's a bridge that goes back over to the city. We're gonna pass it, and I'm gonna stop on it and try to get a nice picture of the city, long exposure. So let's do it. I'll see you on the bridge. Alrighty, here we go. We got to be quick because we are definitely just pulled off on the side of the highway right now. But hey, anything for the shot, am I right? So, I've got two shots that I could do here. I could either shoot the UPMC building or I could take it over to that. I think I'm going to shoot the UPMC building. It just fits the frame better. So, again, going to try to shoot this at f11 just to, get the most out of the shot here. So it's looking like it's saying 8 seconds. So, but I think I honestly want to shoot this at about I think I'm going to shoot it at 20 seconds just to play it safe. So make sure we're at f11 here. And then everything is good. We are good in frame. So here we go. We're going to shoot the city here over the river. And we're shooting at 20 seconds at f11. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
In conclusion, I thought that was a wonderful 2 days of shooting that roll of Pro 400H. A lot of trial and error and learned from my mistakes, but that's what this is all about. That's why we shoot film. However, I did put down a couple of notes that I wanted to discuss from this video. The first thing I wanted to bring up was that second photo I took. When I got that negative back, I was blown away. I was astonished at what I thought was just going to be a simple, self-timer shot. Turned out to be one of the most beautiful, unique, almost extraterrestrial shot on the roll. And to be honest, I'm not even sure how I managed to capture that image. I don't know if there was maybe a little bit of or lack of stability on the tripod when it, clapped the shutter. There was obviously major influence of light trails in that photo, and I was really blown away by that. And I would love to hear what you have to say about that in the comments. Maybe if you have a clue of what happened, why it did that. Because you saw in the video, it was still on the tripod and the shutter clicked after a self-timer. So it, to me, seemed to be totally stable, but that picture shows otherwise. The other thing I want to talk about was just Fuji Pro 400H in general. Having this be my first time shooting it, I honestly was blown away. I know through research and seeing other, photos that have been taken with that film stock, that it's just beautiful. It captures wonderful, wonderful Fuji greens, and it's got a very, very solid white balance, very reminiscent of Portra. May lean a little bit more into the magenta in the shadows, which for me personally, I don't mind that depending on the situation. But for these shots, especially at night, I just think it exceeded all my expectations. I really wanted to push this film and see how it did with long exposures, and it really surpassed my expectations. There's a couple of photos on this roll, especially the one of the garden theater, just really stands out to me, and it rendered that scene beautifully, exactly how I saw it that night. And I really believe that Fuji needs to get their stuff together. They need to start putting these film stocks back in production, because Pro 400H is such a well-developed film stock, especially in 120. I really think it shines, especially at night. If that was in full time production still, that would be my go to night film stock. Um, and I know we have things like Cinestill 800T, and don't get me wrong, I love that film stock. I love it's got a very unique look. Where Pro 400H, yes, it has a unique look, but it's very true to life, and I find that to be very, very stunning, especially at night. And I think we also need to address the elephant in the room, and that was my just total lack of discipline with photography. And that was the first night where I was so excited to get out and shoot this roll that I did not come prepared with a shutter release cable. How bad is that? And of course, I'm still learning the Yashica mat at this time in the video, and I somehow flipped this switch down where it needs to be up to utilize the self timer. And so for that, like half of that first night, I could not get the self timer to work. So I was just snapping away on the tripod handheld basically. So, that may actually make sense why the second photo came out the way it did. But I was I was very undisciplined there. So slap on the wrist for that. But second night popped out, and what a game changer to have a shutter release cable. And if you mostly work with day photography on film, I still like highly recommend getting a shutter release cable and maybe like going out at sunset if you're not a super like down with night photography photographer, which is totally fine, to each their own. But go out with a shutter release cable. You can even fit them on your 35 millimeter cameras and just take some longer exposures. It's so much fun, and it definitely slows down the process. And for those who, really love film photography and shoot it for the purpose of slowing down and making every shot a little bit more intentional, this is your best friend, a shutter release cable. I honestly found it like really blissful to just go out there and have the whole focus, obviously for taking the picture, but to be on the setup of a composition. And slowing down like this, it makes a difference from when you go out with like a digital camera. You can walk around a spot and photograph it from like 20 different angles in a matter of like 5 minutes, where for this, you have to take your time to look through the viewfinder and really figure out what composition you want for this shot. And it takes about like 10-ish minutes per spot to really like, settle in and do that. Obviously in the video, a lot of that was chopped up for the sake of time. But I mean, even the first night when I was at that Cafe Modern, it took me about 30 minutes to pop off those first like 2 or 3 photos. So yeah, just about 10 minutes a photo. And then even at the Garden Theater photo, I chopped that one up as well for the sake of time. And that, I was probably there for 15, almost 20 minutes. And that was, I only got one photo there. And it was my favorite on the roll. So I'm going on a rant about it, but take your time, slow down, get a shutter release cable, you'll love it. Another thing I wanted to talk about is the effects of the rain that first night of taking pictures. I have no idea what happened or how half of those pictures came out the way they did. There's one in particular, I'm like, what in the world is this? And that's the one where I was in the alleyway during the rain, and I had it set up on the tripod, and it was facing towards the highway. And it had the parking lot in the middle, highway in the background, light posts on the left, and the building on the right, kind of framing this like rectangular square composition. when I got that negative back, I was blown away to see that every single light or highlight in that image had almost created a downward trail across the image. Um, and all the like immediate areas where light was, they looked like little keys of light, and I thought that was so cool. Obviously, from like a professional perspective, that's not by any means something that you could use for like like professional use or commercial use. Um, but that's just kind of how it goes when you're shooting with film. You gotta expect the worst. You gotta expect the worst when you're shooting film, but also have high hopes. Gotta have high hopes. The last point I wanted to make was talking about reciprocity with Pro 400H. So, for me personally, how I calculate reciprocity, because I like to overexpose my images, is I will pretty much double whatever the exposure reading I get is. So if, for example, I pull out my light meter and I get a reading that's telling me to shoot at 2 seconds, I will shoot it at 4. And there was one of the Heinz photo that I took in this video, and I talked about it then. The meter read, I think, like 10 something seconds, maybe a little more. But I ended up taking that shot at a little over 20 seconds. And I thought it came out great. I could have probably even gone a little longer to get more of the deeper shadows around the lower half of the Heinz building in. Um, but that just, that all comes down to reciprocity. You really have to push the capabilities of the film stock you're shooting on. And most color negative film stocks are very similar in how they handle reciprocity. When it comes to like slide film and black and white, it can be a little different depending on the film stock. But with Fuji Pro 400H or like Portra 400, they all kind of fall in the same category of how they handle reciprocity. So I live by the times 2 rule, because when film is exposed to light for a long period of time, it becomes less light sensitive. So if I could use the very last image as an example of the city, where I did another 20 plus second exposure, that exposure read again at, I believe, around 10 seconds with the light meter, which would be fine. If I shot it at 10 seconds, it would be underexposed for sure, but it would still be, it could be recovered in post, depending on how muddy the shadows are. But for that, shooting that at like 20 seconds, it came out fine. And I'm sure if I even pushed it a little longer, maybe to like 25, 30 seconds, it probably still would have been fine. So, moral of the story is if you're going to be shooting at night with film, overexposure is your friend. It's not as big of a fall off as if you're shooting during the day. And let's say, you push like 2, 3 stops, maybe even 4 to 5 stops during the day. Your highlights are gonna be closer to being blown out than they would if you overexposed at night. And if you're shooting during the day to meter for shadows, that's fine. But you don't want it to be an off balance photo where the shadows are, metered for and the highlights are just blowing out your photo like a nuclear explosion. So, overexposure is your friend at night. That's the moral of your story. And yeah, if you can get your hands on a roll of Pro 400H, go for it. I had a blast shooting this, and honestly came back as some of my favorite night shots I've ever taken. So, yeah. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and go into the comments. Tell me what of these photos were your favorite. If you've ever shot Pro 400H, what your thoughts are on the film stock. And if there was something, that I messed up in the video, obviously the first night, I'll give you a hint. Critique me on the first night. But anything y'all want to say, just talk to me in the comments. I love, interacting with y'all, responding to y'all. So, with no further ado, please like and subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next video. Peace.